Whoa. Why, hello there.
Hello.
My name is Andrew.
And I'm Jimmy.
And this whole month of October, in celebration of All Hallows Eve, Halloween, the great holiday, my favorite holiday, we're going to be reviewing a movie a day. But not just any movie. We're going to be reviewing horror movies.
That's right. So today, we've chosen to review, for you kind patrons of our channel,
A Nightmare on Elm Street, but not the classic original, everybody. We are going to do the really, really bad, I already spoiled my opinion,
oh my God,
remake. And this remake is particularly special to us in the Movieclips community because somebody actually worked on it.
Yes, I did.
You did. What did you do on this movie?
On this movie, I did, I was on second unit doing video playback and some on-set compositing.
Well, on behalf of everybody, both in the community and in the office, we're sorry.
It was a great experience.
I'm sure it was.
So, but let's talk about the movie. So, first of all, this is Jackie Earle Haley, not Robert Englund.
Not Robert Englund. Yeah. So
which was a huge deal to begin with. But you know what? Look, one that I respect. It's a big decision. I respect the decision simply because look at the Hollywood remakes that they do for horror. Horror movies get turned over more than just about any other
genre.
Genre in Hollywood. So I get that you gotta put the fresh blood in there.
Yeah.
You gotta do it.
And
so,
with the makeup,
re-envision it.
Right. And one of the great things about the original series was that with the makeup, up until Freddy vs. Jason, Robert Englund's last movie, the makeup was so thick and so extensive that he looked ageless throughout all of them. But it's understandable that you don't want to bring the connotations of everything that happened because the series had a lot of hills and valleys of comedy and horror. To bring in a new face is the right idea, I think.
Yeah, and also one that I actually really enjoyed seeing Jackie Earle Haley's performance as Freddy Krueger. But I thought the makeup was great. I thought a lot of the stuff they did was practical.
It was a lot less pizza face makeup than Robert Englund's.
Right.
Yeah, and they did do some of that, like Aaron Eckhart, Dark Knight Two-Face thing where they chip away at his face a bit, so little holes in the cheek and stuff like that.
So let's talk
cool.
about the movie a little bit.
Right off the bat.
Let's talk about
right off the bat.
Yeah, right off the bat.
The credit sequence. You know exactly what movie you're getting into watching this credit sequence. Byron
Wong edited the credit sequence.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I'm really sorry that you know this guy.
No, I do.
Because I might make fun of him. No, it's all right. You see the type. All right, there are two types of type in this credit sequence.
Right.
There's like the choppy 7 type of type.
Yeah.
And then there's type right on top of that, which is like
clean,
bold, acrylic, whatever. It's just clean.
Yeah.
It shows the lack of conviction that this movie has from the get-go to define what it is. It's not quite fully into that 7 awesome credit sequence. It's not. Yeah. It doesn't know what it is. That credit sequence is so boring, and so I'm sorry.
But I can understand where you're coming from. I don't think he makes all those decisions.
Oh, I completely agree. Anyway. It probably was a studio.
But let's talk more about
the movie.
I think the opening sequence,
the best thing about it,
is probably one of the best things about it. There's really 2 sequences in the film that stand out for me. There's the opening sequence, and there's the sequence where Rooney Mara runs down the hallway, and the hallway turns into blood.
That is one of the few things that's original to this movie.
Right.
The movie does steal a lot of set pieces from the original.
Absolutely.
Consequently, I think that's a huge disservice, not to this movie, not to the original, because every time you do a set piece from the original, you ultimately compare it to the movie. And just take, for example, the scene where Freddy comes through the wall over Nancy, who's sleeping. And in the original, I don't know what they used. It was like latex or something, but it looked really real. And
they used latex in this one as well.
Really? It looked so CGI to me.
They
augmented it?
They treated it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So they had a full... All the stuff in the bedroom was really cool. The hallway was really cool. But that sequence in particular I thought was awesome because they did have latex, and he was poking his knives through the latex and everything like that.
But you look at the original, and it's a practical effect, and it's one shot.
Right.
And it's augmented by the fact that she, afterwards, takes the crucifix, puts it up there, and knocks. And all they had to do was add the sound effect of the knocking, and you totally believe that that's wood, and in a surrealist moment, he came out there. It felt to me like the Jean de Bont movie, The Haunting, where so much CGI
intrudes on
and any real effect, and there's so many cuts of it.
In The Haunting that is also
a little
very
like that.
much.
Now, here's my major problem with this movie, and you could go back to other set pieces. I think the death of her Nancy's friend in the bedroom is far more extensive and horrifying in the original. She's dragged around, and she's really thrown around in the original. And there's blood trails everywhere, and just the amount of blood, and it's horrific. And it's maybe comprised of 10 shots. In this one, it's like 30 shots, and there's not that much blood, and it's over before it even started. And just, if that was its own sequence, if that was not something that mirrored a sequence from the original, that'd be okay. But it is mirroring something from the original, and it's executed in such a lazier fashion to me that I couldn't help but loathe everything about it. But my overall, I have to say, my overall note on this film is that I think it missed the point in regards to what Nightmare on Elm Street was groundbreaking in, and that was that it transcended simply scaring an audience and entered surrealism.
Right.
Mark Kermode has this great piece about, when he reviewed this movie, he had this great piece about how Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, came around at the time where latex was really becoming, there was a lot of
they used
right,
what they,
the Cronenberg era.
Yeah, they're kind of were taking like practical effects to another level through the film,
which
like,
transcended
really
the genre.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. That transcended the genre from simply being something to scare you to something that could now physically represent metaphors and go through physical surrealism. And to me, Nightmare on Elm Street is all about surrealism, you know? I think the closest thing we've had to it since then maybe is The Cell, the Tarzan movie.
Yeah.
And in particular, and I know this is a weird thing to get into with a fun little movie clips segment, but the change that they made where Jackie Earle Haley playing Freddy Krueger, who is now a pedophile, they have these flashbacks, and
I know,
they
that
show...
whole pedophile thing was a little...
It's a little off-putting, and I think... I remember at Comic-Con, I was sitting on the Brian Fuller Hannibal panel, and he talked about how one thing he would never do in Hannibal is rape.
Yeah.
He'll never get into rape. And I remember thinking, like, oh, why is that so much better or worse? You think, like, that's a badge of honor you won't talk about, but you'll gut a woman in half. But he started talking about how, like, there's a gothic macabre beauty, and how everybody has to deal with death to some degree. And I mean, at one point in life, we all have to deal with death. So that gives you enough rope to kind of lend itself to beauty and macabre. And even if it's including children, you know, going back to Grimm's fairy tale, they all dealt with death.
Right. But rape is
something that not everybody, of course, will experience.
Yeah.
And rape is also something that should be taken a little more seriously, I feel like. I mean...
And pedophilia, too.
And especially pedophilia. And I think
I know, that was something when I watched the movie, I was just like, really?
Yeah. Especially when it's Jackie Earle Haley, and it's like... But you treat that subject with such seriousness in Little Children.
Yeah.
You got an Oscar nomination for it.
It was... Yeah, that part really didn't sit well with me. But I have to say...
Right. I'm sorry.
At the end of the day, I think a lot of what they did do in this movie, they did really, really, really well. They did a lot of things wrong. There's a lot of things in this movie that they were better than good. There were some really standout moments. I thought that, like you're saying, the beginning of the film, the opening set piece in the diner is amazing. By the way, the diner is real. Do not eat there. It's on Van Nuys Boulevard.
Right.
When we were shooting there were all of those pieces, brains, cow heads, et cetera, were on the actual like cooktop in the kitchen.
And there
was a poster that said, that was like to the staff of the restaurant that said, "We will be open for business tomorrow. Please stay late to ensure this is clean." But like, there's no way you can clean that place without burning it to the ground. So, but I thought that sequence was really, really
very
good.
Effective.
Very, very, very effective. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I go back to the hallway blood thing. I thought that was great.
That was very cool. That was also practical too. Rooney Mara really ran through there.
That was all practical. That was like one of the longest and most challenging things that we shot. They built it was like a swimming pool basically, you know, that was this hallway, and underneath the floor of the hallway was like 10,000 gallons of fake blood.
Right.
And it got up to like,
oh wow,
you know, neck deep or something like that. but it started out when you looked down the hallway, you could not tell at all that it was.
So that was all practical.
It was all practical.
That was a very cool set piece.
That was a very cool set piece.
Another set piece I really liked, which I haven't seen in any of the previous Nightmare movies, and I'm a fan of the series, was the idea of micronaps, which Kyle Gallagher talks about.
Yeah.
And he says, like, when you stay up long enough, you enter this period where you don't know you're dreaming. Your brain is just automatically shutting down and getting whatever many seconds it can to get some kind of rest. So that culminated to a set piece inside like a drugstore or a pharmacy.
Yeah, that's cool when it's cutting back and forth.
It cuts back and forth to the boiler room.
Yeah. No,
that was the best set piece of the movie to me. That was the only thing that was really effective.
No, it feels cool. And he's like walking down the aisle and he's knocking like prescription pills, and then it's like cutting into the micro nap, and then it's cutting back and forth. I thought that worked.
That was
really
a great
well
set
too.
piece. Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, obviously, if you're going to watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, watch the first one. But, you know, we decided to be a little controversial here in Movie Clips.
And, you know, in talking about the remake, we can also talk about what we love about the original. I think the best overall Nightmare movie, and a lot of fans will agree, is Dream Warrior, number 3. Because I think that one introduced Freddy tapping into each individual character's worst fears and neuroses and anxieties. You know, he'll tap into the drug addict and give him a weird surrealist death that had to do with his paranoia, you know, and his drug and everything like that. The girl who wanted to be an actress, he rams her head into a TV. It very inventive, very cool, and it's overall the best, well-rounded, because Nightmare 1 to me, as amazing as the first hour and 20 minutes is,
leaves you feeling a little.
When it turns into Home Alone, I kind of check out a bit.
Yeah.
But I still really love that first Nightmare on Elm Street. And incidentally, there is a absolutely fantastic documentary called Never Sleep Again. It's like a 5-hour long documentary about every single Nightmare on Elm Street. The filmmakers just recently came out with one about Friday the 13th called Crystal Lake Chronicles, which is like 10 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
That is actually more entertaining than you'd ever find in most of these movies. Yeah.
Well, anyway, at the end of the day, most people will remember this movie as one of those movies that Rooney Mara was in before she was famous.
Yeah.
And like, having like a couple of interesting moments, but not much else more.
No.
And
it kind of, I guess, put a halt on the franchise. Obviously, Michael Bay's production company made this. They made Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they made Friday the 13th. And I think between all three of those, like, and they also did The Hitcher and a lot of other films that were remakes of classic 80s movies. Between all of those, I think this is my least favorite of all of them. And I think it says a lot that they never really pursued a sequel, even though it made
they set it up. They set it up for a sequel, but
because it has like a 15% or something on Rotten Tomatoes.
It did not do well.
And it's also, but to their credit, it's also, I think, the hardest remake to adapt.
It is, because you have such a huge history to this franchise. I mean, come on. It was an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And it was either going to soar or fall on its face.
Right. Friday the 13th, it's like a simple checklist of things that you need to cross in order to make a satisfying thing for the fans. And this, you need a lot more. There are a lot more ideas going on in it. But all in all, I don't think it really lived up to much.
I know. You can't say anything
I'm
about
sorry.
it. Don't pick.
You've worked on some great movies. We all have.
It's not my.
I haven't worked on many movies,
it's not my
if
baby,
any, so I can't really say that.
Those are our thoughts on Friday the 13th.
No.
Sorry.
That's
Nightmare on Elm Street.
See, it's a movie.
Now you're putting something
I know.
in my brain.
It's a movie about Freddy Krueger, a character who will kill you if you fall asleep. Yet, obviously, Jimmy is sleeping through a discussion of it, and probably slept through the movie when he watched it. What does that tell you?
I slept when I was on
set.
movie? That's what I was doing.
Right,
yeah. I know.
Okay.
That's
totally fine.
So.
I understand.
I just woke up like, on the set. And I was I was actually in the nightmare, so it was very, very jarring for me. But no, those are our thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street, and let us know what you think. Did you like Jackie Earle Haley, or did you absolutely hate this movie, as most people do?
Do you think the whole pedophilia angle was an ambitious way to make him new and relevant and scary, or do you think it was just misguided, as I do? But you know what? At least they tried something new.
So, for Movie Clips,
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Jimmy. Thanks for watching.